the future of Smash Brothers. In a recent interview with Famitsu, Smash Brothers director Masahiro Sakurai-san, that's not what you meant to say, spoke about the future of the series and if it could continue without him. And anyone who's watching the YouTube clip, as soon as we start talking about Smash Brothers, Mike just goes, "See ya."
Whoop! He's out there. He's out there.
So the Famitsu issue marks the end of Sakurai's bi-monthly column in the magazine after 20 straight years. He spoke about the next Smash Brothers and if he'd be involved. So here's a couple of quotes that we want to reel off. I'm not thinking about a sequel, and obviously these are all translated, I should say. And then I think I've lost Swinny as well. However, I can't say with certainty that this will be the end of Smash. Interesting. I need to think about whether I must release a Smash game or not, even if I have to do something that would disappoint users. And another quote, I currently don't see a path where Smash can be produced without myself. Honestly, we did actually try leaving it to someone else, but it didn't go well. Another quote, if the series were to continue, I have to talk with Nintendo and have a debate on whether it will succeed or not. I must think about this topic seriously, end quote. He also said he wanted to conceal himself for a while. Conceal himself? Is that right? Conceal himself?
That's, remember, like a lot of this stuff has been translated from Japanese. So.
And not able to say anything he's working on next. He said he may be better if people forget about him. So, yeah, like we should, number one, ground the context that, it is a translation, and we've been following this stuff forever before the podcast, right? We're nerds on this kind of stuff, and there does seem to be a lot of issues, especially with Japanese and English. Partly, I think also the culture is quite different, and just like how people refer to themselves, it's like a specific tone. It's like you can never really big note yourself in Japanese, but like, so it's interesting. Even some of the things he says, I'm like, that doesn't sound Japanese, like what he's saying. Like, especially the bit where he goes, I can't see the game going ahead without me. And it's like, I wonder if he said it like that, or if he actually said it in a different way that's been translated in a bit of a funny way. But, Swinny, like handing over to you, like, what did you think about this interview? What were some of the biggest things that stood out to you?
So, look, none of this is surprising to hear. Although I don't think we had known that they'd attempted to hand it over to someone before.
That was juicy, yeah.
Yeah, like if that's been said before, then I'm happy to be corrected. But it is very much Sakurai in terms of, look, especially that last thing about, like he may be better if people forget about him. Like he's not... I honestly think he is honest about not wanting to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
As much as obviously he's the face of Smash and he does the presentations, even that has come out, as part of his this column about, why they're doing those presentations. It's simply because, like it's just a better way to, I guess, present the information. And I think the Joker trailer, that they spent a lot of money on some of that stuff, and they decided to just do presentations to really get that information across. But in terms of, I guess, like the whole thing about I have to talk with Nintendo and have a debate on whether it will succeed or not. And it's like, what does that really mean? Like, succeed financially, succeed in terms of people being happy? It's such a kind of like an ambiguous sentence.
Can I jump in on that? Because I think to me, out of all of these things, that was the most interesting to me. I mean, we should ground the context that, Sakurai has been doing Smash since 99 was the original Smash on the 64. Is that right? Ballpark? Ballpark, let's say 98, 99.
Ballpark.
And so he's shepherded the series since then. And almost after every single one, so starting from Melee, so the second one, he's always said in written articles, interviews, after he's finished, this is the last one I'm going to do. He's literally said that each time, right? Including Smash 4. He's like, this is the last one I'll do. And he went straight into making Smash Ultimate. So when he's talking about, someone else do it, should I do it? I don't want to do it. I feel like it's his life's work. So he probably does want to do it, or he feels obligated to. But that's the part that he talks about the success or not is super interesting to me. And, I said it a few weeks ago or even last week, Swinny, that, it'd be cool in the off season when there's not much gaming news to just like spend like half an hour really trying to go what can you do? How can you make a Smash follow-up when you've gone and done all these negotiations with people to bring characters back in the game that I think is like, honestly, I think it's a 1% chance they could make a Smash game that has all of these current characters and then more characters. I honestly think it's a 1% chance. I pretty much eliminate it. It's not going to happen, right?
Also, for a bit of context, just wanted to say we talk about obligation, Sakurai. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, Sakurai does not work for Nintendo.
Yeah.
So it's not like he is told by them, well, you work for us, you have to make Smash. Like, he does have the choice to actually take on that project or not.
Yeah,
I just wanted to get that out there. Sorry. For anyone
yeah,
who doesn't know.
that's true. And yeah, I use obligation more in the cultural kind of reference to obligation, which is much more prevalent in Japanese culture than it is. Like in the West, no one feels obligated to do anything. You know, they could lead something and then just give it
I
up.
have a roof above my head, but yeah.
No, but that's a requirement, right? Like, but I mean, like,
Yeah,
you know,
I know what you mean.
feeling, yeah. So I think that's super interesting to me. This whole will it be successful or not? Because I look at it as like they will need to fundamentally change this game, because if all they do is make another version and have like 60 fighters, I feel like inevitably people will go, oh, like this is just a worse version of Ultimate, right? I'm really adamant that what they would need to do is, you know, the DLC characters, they put so much love into each of those characters. I feel like they almost need to start the roster again from Mario and like redo that character and then, you know, Donkey Kong and progressively go through it. And that's the only way they could do it. And then have a game where it's more like 24 fighters. But, you know, I know that people are going to go crazy about that if they do that. But I feel like that's the only pathway forward in my view.
And also, I mean, Sakurai a few months ago was talking about, you know, and he's discussed it before, but like actual possible retirement from game development, because it's not just Smash that he's worked on over the years. You know, he worked on Kirby, he worked on Kid Icarus on the 3DS. Like he's been game developer for a long time. And although he doesn't look it, you know, like at some point we all get closer to a retirement age. And especially with someone that seems like you've got a diehard work ethic like him.
Do needs a break.
Yeah, definitely. So
look, as the most diehard Smash fan and probably the most experienced out of all three of us. By the way, that's a joke, everyone. I played by far the least. In fact, I don't really play it at all. But I would imagine it seems like such a polished game, and it's now had so many characters added to it, and it's so refined as a game that the only way I would personally see a path forward is if you wait quite a period of time till you release something new. When either, you know, people don't really play it on the platform, or there's 2 more generations of new platforms that have come out where it makes sense to do a new game. Whereas right now on the current generation stuff, I just don't see why you would. It's such a perfect game in many ways, if you could put it that way, that it doesn't make sense to have a follow-up to it.
yeah, look, honestly, it also really depends on Nintendo's hardware strategy in the future, you know, because I could definitely see a 4K version of Smash being a good selling point. But then again, it's like, where do you go from a smorgasbord like this?
Yeah, but they could just upscale the current edition to that.
I don't think they would care about the 4K element to it in terms of, you know, we're not going to cover it as a story, but a part of the Nintendo financials was that they were already, you know, planning the new hardware. And 100% there'll be a Smash on the new hardware. It's like Mario Kart. It's like a Mario game. It's like a Zelda game. Like they sell so many copies, and like Animal Crossing now as well. They sell so many copies. They'll do 1 per generation. There's no chance in my mind they'll make another Smash game. But, you know, I think even inevitably it's going to be compared. And if the next console that Nintendo makes is a Wii U situation, or even a Wii original situation where you could play the previous generation, I feel like they're still going to have the comparison, which is like, well, Smash Ultimate is playable on the next, whatever it's going to be called, Nintendo console, and it's better than this new one that's coming out. I mean, the one thing I will say, Mike, and it's like, I know it's not like a casual gamers, I don't care at all, but I feel like from a community and support and just, you know, hype, if they actually cared about like the net code and all this other kind of stuff, and, you know, put rollback and all, like they really paid attention to that stuff in the next Smash Brothers, I feel like they would just get so much love from the community, and it would build its own hype, even if it was a much reduced roster. Like that's what I would do strategically if I was inside of Nintendo.
Yeah, it's like they simultaneously made what I think is the best Smash game, but also kind of shot themselves in the foot by the whole everyone is here, because each Smash game before, like each sequel before they accept Melee, I think kind of also kind of removed characters. So it's
Yeah.
like you had a pattern there, and then suddenly everyone is here. So anything that comes next will just be like immediately, well, they included everyone last time. So it's such a tough, like I wouldn't want to be in the
Right out there.
position of the person to kind of make the decision about what the plan is for the next Smash. Like that would be such a hard task ahead of you.
Absolutely. Plus,
It'd
you
be
know what else
insane.
is hard? Trying to compete against bloody Cat Dog in the Nickelodeon game. they've set the new bar really, really high. So
Wait till the
like
WB
Smash.
game comes out when you're fighting Batman versus Rick and Morty. But look, last thing I wanted to mention, Swinny, and then I'll throw to you for closing thoughts or comments or whatever, was, just on that, comparing the rosters. Like, I feel like it's pretty much certain, to me at least, Sora will not be in the next game, right? Like, it was so hard to get Sora. The backstory is literally someone at Nintendo was in the same elevator as someone from Disney, and they were chatting about like the gaming industry and things like that, and that's how they got that connection. Like, it's mind-boggling, like that it's almost like a luck that they got it on board. And there were so many guidelines and regulations. They couldn't show like Goofy or Donald Duck or all these kind of things. It was like very strict about what they could show and not show. I just feel like I couldn't imagine a world where Disney would say, yeah, Sora can be in the next game as well, and then maybe not even Banjo, so they're the top two most popular fan voted sort of characters. So yeah, it's I think you're right, man. I think they've almost created a Pokemon dynamic with it, where people are like, well, the Pokedex, the National Dex, you can bring every, any of my Pokemon through. Every Pokemon's available. And then obviously with Sword and Shield, they said they're not doing that, and people went apeshit about it. And it's still sold really well. So, and I think that's the thing, you're right, Suni. The game's going to sell insane on the next console when they release it. It's not going to be a bad seller, but I think it's more, how did they actually top it? But did you want to add anything else to this, Swinny?
Look, there's a whole bunch of cool little insights that we'll listen to the description. I'll call a couple out that was part of this column. Now, Sakurai's been writing this bi-monthly column for Famitsu for like 20 years or something, and this apparently was the last month. He was actually on the cover, so that's pretty cool. But some of the other cool stuff that came out, so yeah, you mentioned Banjo-Kazooie was actually followed Sora in the Smash Ballot popularity, which is kind of crazy to me. Like, I would have actually expected, or maybe, I'm just trying to think the timeline of that stuff. It just seems Banjo was well wanted, but it's like, but anyway, it is what it is. They mentioned a lot about the issues, the technical things they had to consider with both adding Joker in because of the multiple animations, and also Pyra and Mithra, because there's two characters that swap back and forth. And they almost like were going through these different, he was considering these different options, and if they couldn't get Pyra and Mithra that are dual characters and switch between each other, he probably would have gone with Pyra instead, which is pretty funny to me. But and like talking a lot about those technical development things, so it's really, really cool. But one of the coolest things from my favorite thing out of these talking points is when he talks about balancing the fighters, because that is one of the, like, there's so many characters in this game, and the types, they're all wildly different, highly wildly different, that aren't clones of Marth. And basically he talked about when balancing fighters that he preferred to not to eliminate the strong points, to like debuff character, well, to not like get rid of what makes them cool and strong, but to add other weaknesses to balance them out.
That's cool.
So, and I think that is just a really, really cool thing to hear, because that's stuff you just didn't hear about, in the past. And it's great that he felt comfortable to actually talk a bit more about that now. So I'll list the rest of them in the description, which there's a lot of cool stuff. So, which
on that, it's actually like what true FGC people always say, like buff the character, don't nerf them.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny he said that. I'm not sure if he did that every time. Like, he totally nerfed Pichu because that character was ridiculous in the version 1.0. But yeah, no, really looking forward. Obviously, we'll jump on the next Smash Brothers when it comes out, but we're playing Ultimate and mastering every character right now. So we'll be there for 100 years. All right, we'll go to our final news segment.